Okay, well, you know what? It is the top of the hour, so let's get this show started here. So welcome everyone to the Vancouver Power BI and Modern Excel User Group Meetup, the Thursday, June 23rd edition, or for our guest today, the Friday, June 24th edition. I know Matt hates it when we always talk about summer when it's not his summer there and whatnot, and I'm trying to be conscious of the days as well. So anyway, let's get this moving along here. So today's meetup, we are now into the welcome and overview section here. In a couple of minutes, we're going to turn it over to Matt for what's new in Power BI. Or not, we'll see. And then followed by Leila's feature presentation. We should probably be wrapping up around 7:20-ish on the west coast of Vancouver in whatever time zone you're at. Your mileage may vary. I'd like to say a big thanks to the sponsors that make all of this stuff possible. SkillWave, which is the training platform that Matt and I run. If you're looking for fantastic Excel and Power BI training to really take your business intelligence to the next level, you should definitely be checking us out. Excel Guru is my company that is part of SkillWave, and also a shout out to Monkey Tools. If you're working with Excel and Power Pivot modeling and Power Query, you should definitely be checking out this tool set. It'll help you do a lot of great things. Our next meetups that are coming up, our Power BI track is going to be on July 7th. And note that we have an early start time for this. We've got Sam Bide is going to be joining us from India. And therefore, he's about 12 hours different, 12 and a half hours different than us, I think. So we're going to be starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So much earlier than normal. But, check the calendar invites and whatnot that you get for meetup. They should hopefully get in the right time into your calendar. Our next Power BI track, we're going to be welcoming back Parv Chana, and Parv is going to be talking about the power of calculation groups and best practices and pitfalls to avoid in that topic. So that should be pretty awesome as well. Just a quick note for those of you who may not have been here last time, we have a brand new website serving up Monkey Tools, a dedicated website and domain for this now. If you are looking to try out the software, you can get a free trial of it. You can even actually just download the free version right away, or check out all the cool pro features as well. So if you're interested in learning more, go and check out monkeytools.ca. So now I lost my clicking. I have a self-service BI bootcamp that is coming up, and there's actually some cool tie-ins to this one here. We are going to be running this live on site in Mississauga, Ontario, August 10th to 12th. My flights are booked. My hotels are booked. I am going to be there. So if you are interested in being on site with us, you should definitely check it out at our short URL down there for SSBI Live. If you are more interested in the online version, which is also included, by the way, in the live version, the online version of our next semester starts on July 19th for its next 8-week semester, and that is on sale until June 30th. You can get $200 off of that. I am also going to be doing my live on-site version at Definity as a post-con workshop. Going to be down visiting Reza and Leila in Auckland, New Zealand. This one is also on sale until June 30th. You can save $100 on the price of admission there. 3 days in person also includes the live online option with a year of access to that product as well. So if you are looking at being at Definity in New Zealand, or just need a really good excuse to go to New Zealand, you should definitely check that out as well. Just a reminder that we record all of these meetups and we actually host them on YouTube at SkillWave's YouTube channel. The short link to that is here. All of these slides, of course, are already posted on the meetup site, so you can download them and get those links directly from there. Don't forget to check out Monkey Shorts if you're interested in targeted 3-minute or less short video training. Today's tip was on how Excel's let function and DAX's var function are actually very, very similar. So we looked at what we were playing with there. Also had some rounding tricks and also just, one of those things you got to know if you want to be an Excel data ninja on how to enter data into multiple Excel cells at once. So those are the last few episodes we've seen for Monkey Shorts, and there's a new one released every Thursday morning. The last thing I'm going to say before I make way for Matt here is if you are interested in coming and speaking at the Vancouver Power BI User Group, you've got some cool stuff that you want to share with Excel or Power BI, Power Query, DAX, or even a topic that just nests into these, Power Automate, Flow, things like that, we would love to have you. Fill out the survey here. We'll get in touch with you. We're always interested in welcoming new speakers to our platform. And we'll get in touch. And on that note, Hey, look at that. That's 6:05 on the nose. I think I said I was going to turn it over to you at 6:05, Matt. So guess what? It's your turn for what's new in Power BI June edition.
Okay, great. Well, as Ken alluded to, the truth is, sorry, Ken, I didn't mean to put you on the screen. The truth is that Ken said to me, you can talk about, give a Power BI update, or actually you can talk about whatever you like. So I took a liberty, and I did take a look at the Power BI June update. There was really nothing specific in there that I wanted to talk about. And you've probably experienced this yourself as the product becomes more mature. There's a lot of incremental updates. There's a lot of technical improvements, things happening underneath the hood, but we don't always see these high gravity value adding new features. It doesn't mean the product's not being improved, but it's just not something that I particularly want to talk about today. So there was a new release on the 14th of June. You should already have it, and but there's nothing I'm going to specifically talk about today. So what I thought I would do instead is pick a Power Query problem that I could share with you. So those of you that have done Power Query Academy, you wouldn't have seen this specific example, but hopefully you already have some of these techniques under your belt. But the problem that I'm going to talk about is a problem that I actually had during this last week. In fact, Ken doesn't even know that I'm doing this presentation yet. But so one thing that Ken and I are working on is to put subtitles on our training videos. Now, we're some way off having this completed, but we are planning on putting subtitles on our training videos. A few people have requested that for clarity of words, and also for people who are hard of hearing. And so what I wanted to do was take this subtitle file, and there's a stack of these subtitle files. I'll show them to you in a minute, but it's basically a text file. It's got an ID and then a timestamp. So from 2 minutes 49 and 920 milliseconds through to 2 minutes 55 and 200 milliseconds, these two lines of text were spoken. And so this is what this is an industry standard subtitle file. And I thought to myself, well, wow, this would be great to have a transcript. We could actually build a transcript of everything that was said in a video. And we could then use that to search for keywords and find which videos we talked about a particular topic, such as 445 training tool, 445 calendar, for example. And so I thought, well, what I want to do is I want to load this data into a transcript single document so that I can actually use it as a transcript tool. So the method that I thought I'd do, I was going to use Power Query. I'm going to build a query that processes a single file, and then wherever possible, I always like to use the user interface to help me write the code, because I'm not that great at writing M code, but I'm pretty good at hacking the M code. So for those of you who have seen some of my videos, you'll see I'm a bit of a hacker, and I'm going to show you some of those techniques again here today. And then the last thing I actually do is turn that query into function. But I'm not going to show you that today. I'm sure you've seen file combine and calling functions and things. I don't have enough time to go through the full end-to-end process. So I'll just show you the process of processing a single file. And really the objective is just to give you some inspiration and to show you how someone solves a different real world business problem. So hopefully at the end of this, you'll come out with a bit of inspiration on what we can do to solve similar problems. So with that, let me jump over to a demo. Now, I see there's some chats coming in. So Ken, I'll assume that you'll interrupt me if there's anything I need to stop and pause and talk about.
Will do.
All right, so I've got this. This is an Excel file. I built this in Excel, and this is sort of a bit of a sample. This is where I'm at now. So what I've been able to do is I've been able to load all of the modules and the lessons. So if I go to date and time, so this is one, date and time techniques is one of the modules in Power Query Academy. I can click on what is a calendar, and then this is the word for word script of what's being said during that lesson. And I could do a search, I could do this, control find. I haven't quite worked out whether I'll punch this out into a PDF or whatever, but the point is I've just got a nice clean timestamp followed by the text, and I can look at it in a single page like this. So that's the end state. So let me jump over and I'll show you the queries, and I'm going to step through the process that I went to build this out. Now I've actually got 3 queries. Now in my final solution, this is the only query I've got. And then I turn that into a function and then combine all the files. And I've already produced the query because I want to save some time. But I have these 2 other queries here. So these are partial queries, and I'll jump to these when the time is appropriate, because there are 2 particular steps that I want to show you exactly what I did, the thought process that I went through to actually generate the code. All right, so let's go to the top of the query. So the first thing I did was just connect to a single file. I didn't do anything special. I just used get file from text CSV, and then I connected to the file, and it gave me this, just a list of the text file. You can see it's got some blank rows in here from the menu at the top, and you can see this pattern. Now, notice that as I scroll down here, when I get to row 33, notice how there's only 1 line of text, but many other lines have got 2 lines of text. And because of this inconsistency in the repeating pattern, I'm not able to use one of the other patterns that Ken actually developed, where you basically give each row an index, say from 1 to 5, and then you can actually use one of our tricks and techniques to unpivot this data. Because we've got an inconsistent number of rows, I need a different approach to that. So, okay, so the first thing I did was I did a few steps to clean the data. So pretty much always I like to do a trimmed text. So trimmed will get rid of any spaces, leading and trailing spaces. And then I also did a cleaned text. What the clean text does is it will remove any non-printing characters like a line feed, carriage return, those sorts of things. You can't see them, but they're actually there. So I like to do those 2 things first, particularly when I'm not clear on the data source. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to get rid of this character here. So see this little strange character. I'm not quite sure where it came from, but I don't want that in my text. And the easiest way to do this is click on one of your cells that's got that character, and then down the bottom here, you can actually access the text. And so you can just come in here, and I just basically use my keyboard to highlight that cell, Control-C, come up to a replace value step. You just paste that character in there, replace it with nothing, and that'll basically strip out those characters. It does depend on you being able to see those characters, admittedly, but it was a pretty quick and easy fix in this case. Okay, so now I need to try and unpivot this. I want to try and get a flattened table. My end state is I want, oops, I didn't mean to do that, sorry about that. My end state is I want to have the record number, 1, 2, 3 in a column. Then I want the timestamp, and then I want the text. I'm trying to flatten my table out into that sort of shape. In fact, this is what I ultimately want to get to. So the first thing I did, well, the next thing I did was I duplicated the column, right? So I put a duplicate column in place, and then I decided to force an error. So I changed the data type so that this error was triggered. So I changed the column type to integer. If there is an integer, it gets converted, otherwise it throws an error. And then I replaced the errors with nulls and did a fill down. So this is the first piece that I needed to do to be able to flatten out my table. So basically now I've taken this record number and added it into a column in my table. A couple of little cleanup steps. I changed the order of my columns like this. I renamed my columns, and so now I've made the first significant step. Now, the second step that I want to do is I want to put these index numbers in a new column. Now, I'll come back and show you how I did this in a second, but I want 1 through to 5, 1 through to 5, but when I have only 4, so if I get down to record 33, remember record 33, there's only 4 items in record 33, 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't continue to 5. So this is what the next step, and I'm going to show you my hacky approach on how I did that. So I started with this, which is what I've got here, and I don't know how to write this code. and this is one of the key messages I want you to take away, is if you learn how to hack the UI, you don't have to be a great M programmer. You can use the UI to generate the code. I don't know how to write the code, but I do know that if I add column, index column from 1, it will insert the column for me, and this is the code that generates that index. The only problem is that this code says take the table from the previous step and insert the column. But apart from that problem, which we'll deal with in a minute, that's how to generate an index column. You specify the table and then you use this code. So I'm going to copy this code, Control C, into my clipboard and then delete that column because I don't need it. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the group by technique, because what the group by will do, so I'm sure you're aware, I can use group by to count how many rows do I have in for each record. So I'm clicking on this column, group by, I'm going to take the default, count how many rows, and it says record 1 has 5, record 33 has 4. So you can see that this has automatically created that grouping for me. And now look at the code here, because this is the important piece of code. Whenever you see each and also this underscore character, this is a much bigger topic, but this is basically a function. And if you've done some DAX, you can think of it as a bit like a row context. What this says is for each record, I want you to count how many rows there are. Now, what I can do is I can actually delete that request to count how many rows, and I can just use the underscore character, each underscore. And when I do that, instead of counting the rows, it actually gives me the table. Down here, what group by has done, table.group, is it's generated a new table because I've said, give me basically the table for that particular record. Now, I realize this is a little bit involved, but and you can come back and watch the video again. But basically what table.group has done is created a new table. Here it is. For each record, it's grouped those rows together. So now that I've done that, I can actually paste my code that I generated before, the add index column code. But I don't want to add it to this table. I want to add it to this table. And so all I have to do is replace this with that underscore character, because that's the reference to the table. So when I do that, notice that I get my new index column inserted in this table down the bottom. All right, so each underscore, and I've just placed my code from there. So next thing I need to do is expand this, but notice that my icon doesn't let me expand the column. And that's because when I generated this table.group using the group by button, it was expecting an integer. And so it said to me, I'm going to give you an integer. Well, clearly we've changed the code. We're not getting an integer. Instead, we need to change this to, I believe it's type table. Once I do that, then I get this expand button. I don't need the record number. I'm going to just rush ahead because I'm just running out of time. And so there it is. And if I come down to record number 33, you'll see I've only got 4 rows in there. Okay, so that was the first one. So I grouped the rows. I did my hacking code. I expanded it. Now I need to do a little bit of cleanup. There's nothing too funky going on here. All I need to do is I need to get rid of every row that starts with a 1, or every row that has a 1, because I don't need that number. And I also need to get rid of every row that's a blank. And so that's all this next step does. I won't spend a lot of time on it. Then what else did I do? Oh, that's right. So I want to flatten out this timestamp. So I just did an added column. So I just said if the index equals 2, because now I've got this index column, the timestamp is always index 2. So if it's index 2, give me that value, otherwise give me null. And then I did a fill down, and I did a little bit of cleanup, so I'll just jump through. But basically, that is the flattening process. I have one more little hack that I want to show, and then I'll finish up. I'm probably 3 minutes from the end, Ken. The last thing I want to point out is that I've actually got, because I've got 2 rows of text, I really don't want 2 rows for every record. And so I want to combine these 2 rows together. And so I'm going to use that same group by trick that I used before. So this time I'm going to group by both of these columns because they're identical. So I'm going to come up, do a group by, take the default again, let the UI do the hacky code for me. If I remove this again and just put the underscore character, you'll see that it generates a table. This is the table that it generates. But I actually don't want this, right? I don't want this. I only want this. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. I only want this, right? And so what I'm going to do is, because this underscore refers to this table, I can just put a square bracket text. And then that is this is the column indicator. And this now gives me a list. Notice that it's a list now, not a table, because I said take the table and just give me the text column. And just jumping straight to the solution, now that it's a list, I'm just going to copy that, Control X. There's a function called text.combine, and that function likes a list. It wants a list. And so the list I'm going to pass is that one there. And I just need to put a spacer in between each record, and basically there we have it. All right, so look, really fast, super fast. It is being recorded. You can go back and have a look at it again, and you can do some practice exercises yourself. But there's a little bit of cleaning up and stuff that I could do. But as I said, my objective was to give you some inspiration as to what can be done with a combination of the UI, a little bit of hacking under the hood, hopefully a little bit of insight into what these strange looking constructs actually are under the hood. So yeah, so back over to you, Ken.
So at least now I know what I did, or what you did with that time where I canceled for the meeting for today, I guess. I'm going to cancel all of our meetings because obviously it makes you very productive. So good stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing that roll out, because I recognize that text in that video, and that that one's one of mine, I think. Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. And you know what? In lieu of the fact that there really wasn't anything as exciting in the Power BI update, I think that's a fantastic little segue there. So I do want to just throw out there, though, just for your knowledge, because I don't think that you may have seen this. I actually have a recipe card, which is numbering grouped rows, which is like almost all UI driven. So you wouldn't even have had to go hacky with that.
Come on.
Not that I would stop you. So there you go. Awesome. Right. Anyhow, yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. All right. Well, I am super pleased. You know, I can honestly say, Leila, I'm actually really surprised that I've never had you on the program before, and I'm glad that we actually got to rectify this. I mean, we've obviously known each other for a heck of a long time here. I'm really looking forward to being able to come down to see you in New Zealand again, but it's fantastic to see you face to face again. Let's turn this over to you, and we'll get started with looking at no-code visuals and Charticulator.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken, and that was great actually to present for Vancouver. And thanks so much, Matt. This was a really nice one. I really enjoyed the coding parts of that M language. So yeah, so about me. So thanks so much everyone to joining for this session. So I'm in New Zealand, as Ken mentioned, and I'm doing for people who kind of new to our stuff. So I'm part of RADACAD Company. We write blog posts about different Power BI, and I'm in more in AI part and also the kind of creating Charticulator and custom visual through that. So about creating custom visuals. So you know that in Power BI created in 2015, and so we have some standard visual that we can work with that. After a while, we again in the same year 2015, there are some marketplace and office store that we already have it now, and people from different companies and also Microsoft create some custom visual that they already created, and you can use it. But to be honest, always there is a scenario that you want to create your own visual. So the visual is not created with some companies, and actually that's inspiration to create some visuals. So there are many ways. Definitely one of the common ways of the coding part is using the code, JSON code and JavaScript to create custom visuals. Many people create awesome visual through that, but it needs coding. Another way was using R. So you can use R directly inside Power BI as a custom visual, or you can create a custom visual creator. That means become same as the what we have in Marketplace, and create that. Again, that also needs lots of coding, and you need to know another language besides DAX. That many people really don't want to go to the AI part. They want to stick in the data analysis part. So it's not really necessary for them to learn about that. So what has happened actually in 2019, Microsoft present a kind of the no-code environment that's helped people to create custom visual without writing any code. So I'm coming from the R background. I create some custom visual with R, and I want really to track that how it works. I'm start working with that, create some course on that, and I think that in some scenarios it's much easier to create visual there rather than going with the code and things. So for example, I created a slope chart that time with R that took me about with all of the setting and everything creation, it took me about 200-300 lines of the code. I created in Charticulator with just 10 minutes and no code. So that's the thing. So for some visual is really good. So Charticulator is the internal project from Microsoft Research. There are many people now working that. This is back to the 2019, but that's based on the Microsoft Research. So let's see, and let's talk and back to the Charticulator environment. So the first stage, let me also enable this one. So the first stage was through the website. So first Microsoft actually introduced an environment for the website that I'm going to actually share it in the chat. So if everyone wants to try. That has actually a editor studio in the web browser, and you can actually look at some of the chart template that's already there with the template and data. You can browse them and see that how they created. There is some guide through that. To be honest, for me, when I start to learning, I really reading these documents is not really clear for the first for the person that like me that just kind of introduced to Charticulator. So I'm not saying that is bad, but for the start, maybe it's a bit hard to follow. So let's see that what we have actually over here. So definitely the first step is to bring a sample of the data. This data, for example, if you have 1 million records of data, you do not need to bring all of them out here. So you just get a bunch of that because we are going to create a sample chart. So you don't need to bring all of them, just a small of them, because also is a bit, it can be impact on the performance of that. So just a bring of them, and it should be on a CSV file. So that's a first link. So we have data and link. So I will, that's for different type of the chart. We need link. I'm just go for the data and show you that how we can create a simple scatter chart overview first, and then we go through some of most other visual. So I'm just going through that. Just going through the, okay, just checking my.
Hey, Leila, I just want to check that you're not actually sharing your screen yet. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Yes, I'm sharing.
That looks much better. Way easier to follow along now.
Thank you for stopping me. Sorry, so let me kind of do that one over here. So, yep. So I just talking about that. Thanks so much for stopping me. I just talking without sharing my screen. So I just talk about these slides that what different visualization skills happen. Also talking about the Microsoft Research people that we have. And now I'm going through the scatter chart. So going to show you the how we can get the data. So this is actually the environment that we have. I'm going to launch to the Charticulator environment. So as you can see here, we're able to get data from CSV file, as I mentioned, and also a CSV file for the link. That's a bit different story. So first of all, I'm going to get a data from actually a CSV file. So just a minute, so I just can able to get it. Okay. I can also share this the data set after a while. So you can see actually your data over here. When you come, this is the environment that you can see. So it has different parts. One of the parts that it has is about your data. So you can able to see your data. Definitely same as Power BI. So for the numeric value, we have Sigma. For the categorical value or checks, it's just nothing. And this is for the categorical, numeric categorical value. And you can change that one. So if you click on that, you can change the data to be categorical or ordinal. Same for the age and for the other thing. Also, you're able to look at your data over here. So you can see what's the data type they are and kind of the overview of your data over here. And if you're not happy about that, you're able to exchange it kind of with a new data set that you have. So it's actually open a new place for you. So that's actually, I'm happy with that. What else we have here? So we have kind of a bit different concepts over here. So what we have, first of all, we have some environment named layer. So this, as a chart, it has different layer. It has the general chart environment that is about the title of the chart, that is about the how many axes we can have, because in some scenario we can have just one axis or multiple axes, so it can be changeable. Another part is glyph. Glyph is about each rows of the data. So for example, if we create a scatter chart, we can see that we have different dots on the chart. So each of them is a glyph. So it's about one data point that we have. So we are going to look at that. As I'm going to create a scatter chart, I need to drag and drop a symbol over here. So as you can see at the top, we have different actually tools bar over here. The first two one of them is the use it as a rectangle, ellipse and triangle. We can use them for the bar chart. And the second one, that is symbol, we normally use it for when we are going to look at the data as a scatter chart or as a dot. And of course, there are different symbols for using them. And just drag and drop it and put it in the glyph area, because each symbol is representative for the each rows of the data and they need to be in the glyph area. So I just, before I'm doing that, first of all, I prefer to set the axis. I want to see that kind of the y-axis and x-axis for that. So the data that I have is about the publication. So I'm going to drag and drop the number of the page and actually, for example, rating card or rating sum to the y and x axis. Y and x axis actually refer to the plot segment. So if you look at here, there's a plot segment, is a 2D environment. And if you look at the attributes of the plot segment, so if I click on plot segment, you see that for the attribute part, we're able to drag and drop for the X value and the for Y value. So I'm very fast. I'm just going to drag and drop over there. So number of the page, I'm going to put it for the X axis, for example. And for example, rating sum, I'm going to drag and drop for the y-axis. So when I actually doing that, as you can see, now if I check my plot segment attribute, you can see that for the x-axis is a numerical. We have average number of the pages that is start from 100 to 1000. So it's this based on my data and I can change it. If I can, for example, said I want to start from 0, for example, and also some of the other things to be visible on top or other. Same for the y-axis that actually I have again, it detect the range of the data. I can change it to be start from 0 and other features that it has. So I set up my segment. Now I'm going to drag and drop that symbol for the each rows of the data. As you can see here, segment and title of the chart. So title of the chart is this one, and the segment is the Y and X axis. They are part of the chart. All of them are part of the layer, but these two is part of the chart. When I drag and drop symbol become the part of the glyph that is stand for each rows of the data. I have about 42 something rows of the data, and as you can see, these are all kind of showings here. So I have symbol over here. I can change the symbol to be data point, for example. I want to change it to be data point. And for the each data point, I have some attributes over here. So I'm able to mention what's the kind of the shape should be look like. There are some shape over here. I can setting up the style of that, the size of the chart and everything. So let's do, for example, I want to have a different color for the different gens of the book. So I just drag and drop the genres of the book, that is fiction and non-fiction. So I'm going to drag and drop and put it over here under the style, under the field. Beside that, I can see that actually I'm able to bind the data to have a legend. So I want to actually the color of the data also to be my legend. So I can add that one over there. That's another parameter will be add to the layers of the data. Again, title is once per chart, legend in once per chart, plug segment in once per chart. But everything that is repeated, so these are the ones, but everything that is repeated is part of the glyph, because legend is just one for the each chart. So we can see that we just have one, and under the chart we can see that one. So the legend will be over here. For the each parameter, for the each elements that we have over here, for example, for segment, we have a specific attribute. For title, we have a specific attribute. For legend, also we have the same. So you can specify what is the alignment of your legend can be. So it can be inside the chart, outside, or other location, the orientation, how it should be. So you can set all of the attributes of that. Another things about the each data point or from the glyph that I want to change is the size of the each cycle. I want to be align it with the age of the people. So I drag and drop and put it for the size. Also, I want to have a stroke or the line around the each circle that, for example, shows the, for example, what I use here is number 1, and for the Y I use rating sum. So for example, for the rating count, I want to choose as a stroke that is the line beside of the each line. So I can set in this chart, I use multiple things in one. So I use the size, the color, the actually kind of the circle around the each data point. I put that, and these can be changeable. So as you can see here, for example, for the stroke, if you look at that, you're able also change the color of that to be, and what's the, the scale should be very low to very high. So you can change that one, and kind of the kind of the auto mean width for the each line over there. So you can change everything over there. Moreover, you can see that for some of the things, like for example the rating count, that is for the line beside that, you're able to mention what is the aggregation you want. It's become average, medium, sum, mean, or other ones. So all of them things can be changeable. So I can change the charter tile, but later on you bring it to Power BI, you can change it. So this is a very simple chart. So I want to show you first how it's go, and then we go to a bit more complex chart over here. So to do that, of course, you can save it. So it's going to save in your browser. So if you create something in Charticulator in the web, it's going to store in your browser. So I put it as a, for example, simple scatter chart, and I said save to my chart list, and I'm going to actually export it. So at the top, we have the option to export. When I click on that, I can export it as an image, I can export it as a HTML, I can export it as a Charticulator template. This is used when you want to create nested chart over there. So for example, a scatter chart inside a table, or a scatter chart inside the, any other charts that you want. So here, to create a Power BI custom visual, as you can see, if I maximize, you can see the all of the things. For example, the journey name can be, the naming can be changed. For example, I think it was, I can put it as a legend. I can change the age. That was, I think, for the size, I believe, of the chart, and you can change all of them, for example, to be X variable and whatever. So these are the format name that we bring to the Power BI. So it can be kind of change it for the scale. You can kind of put some drill down or delete up, enable, highlight, or other things. You can check through them. Also, you can put a name for your visual. And also the icon, you can change the icon your Power BI, otherwise it should be the same. So let's see that what is happened. So I'm going to import it over here. I'm back to my Power BI file. I'm going to get the same data set that I have. I believe it's maybe it's the same or not. Oh, that's a different one. Let me load the other one. This is for the another example I want to show. But any questions so far? Is all good?
No, I think we're all good so far.
Good, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to grab the data. So you can, you're not just limited to that, but you can use other data for that. For this example, I'm just using the same one, but it can be any data that has the same thing. So same as the kind of creating, getting the custom visual that you have. We not go through the App Store because we still didn't publish it, but we can get it from a file. So I click on that, I'm going to import it, and on my download, this is the one. So as you can see here under the area for custom visual, I can see the scatter chart over here. So now here, what I have actually is the everything that I set it up there. If you remember, I set the legend and the size, but I didn't change the rest. So it's all coming over here. So I'm going to just very fast, I'm just going to add them over here. Just be careful, for example, for some of them, just don't be summarized, because we can set it up later on, but kind of it's good to be checked because that shows a different chart for us. So rating sum over here, again, don't summarize, rating count. Summarize. So we can see that here we're also able to change some of the titles. So for example, bestseller over here, and it can be also interactive. So when you're creating something in kind of in R or other, some of them are not really interactive, so it's not really interest of many people, but this one can be kind of the interactive based on the selection. Or for example, if I create a simple bar chart for example, year and book title, for example, book maybe not, based on the, let's see, no, for example, gender, Yep, that's better. So you can actually kind of slice and dice each other. So that's kind of the things that can happen. So it's not just limit to that one. So recently, I think just last year, Power BI itself introduced a custom visual. So instead of going to the browser, now they introduce a custom visual that you can actually create that. I found there are some differences between the versions. So still I'm checking that, but it should be the same. So it's very new one. So as you can see, it doesn't have that much rating now yet. Just going to add that one over here.
Hey, Leila, we got a quick question from Branham asking, can we replace the numerical columns in the visuals with their respective measures?
You mean, yes, you can change everything over here. So I mean that, for example, here, I can switch them. For example, it can be kind of different values. So it can be different data set even.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. So about this, so this should be a numerical value. So for example, if it's using the measure or other things over here, so it can be a bit different kind of regarding the numerical value over here. So because it can be aggregation, so we should be careful about that, how to use them. But yes, it's possible also. So here, this is not this one, sorry, just they are the naming the same. So I'm going to Microsoft Charticulator. So this is a Microsoft Charticulator environment. I'm going to kind of add the same thing over here. So just the book, the number of the pages, and I'm going to add everything over here. And then at the top, I have the option to edit that. So I can go to the environment to create a new chart. So it's actually what they do, they kind of embed that environment over here. So I can add the same things, creating the visual over here, and everything should be the kind of the same things over kind of the same experience we have there. So I can, for example, for the just very fast try to change that. For example, again, for that one, just change for the size, for example, like this. And the color also should be something like this. And we have the kind of the same, I can set identical, still is a bit different, but we can set the kind of the similar experience we have over here. And we just save it. And we can back to the report. So it's actually we able to create over here. So I'm saying that they can be identical, but it can be a bit different. And you can change the all of the orientation over here. Every time you want to change the tile, again, you can go to edit environment and again check it. So that's a good thing. Not every time you have to go to the website and create it. So that's become a bit much more easier to working over here. So I'm just talking about the simple charts that we have. So now I'm going to kind of talking about a bit more complex. So I'm going to see that what a specification Charticulator can have. So just back to there. In this time again, I can go and create, for example, a new one over here, or maybe just go to the and create a new one. I want to close the previous one. This time, what I'm going to actually create, I'm going to create a chart that is a pyramid chart. That means that is a bar chart, but we can have a different axes of that. The main point I'm going to show you that how we can add more axes to your chart over here. So to do that, I'm going to new and just going to the pyramid chart data set. So it's a very simple one. If I just want to explain it. So that's a very simple chart. So I have an age range, I have the sales amount for female and the sales amount for male. One of the things about Charticulator, if you create a specific chart, that means that you should create your data for that scenario. So Ken, I can share these data sets later on with you guys, so you can share it with people, so they can kind of, if they want to practice, they can actually do that.
Fantastic, thank you.
You come. So here I'm going to add the, so I want this axis, I want this one. So I want that one in the y-axis shows the age range of the people. So if I'm back and check my plot segment attribute, you can see that in the y, I have that one. But I just want to change it to be the reverse. So I don't want to show first at the top 40 to 45. I just want to has a reverse sorting. So here, beside plot segment, if I go to the attribute of the plot segment, under the y-axis, as you can see, I can change the order. So I can change the order by clicking over here. So I'm just going to do that. Just click reverse. So it's become like this. So it's change it like that. So now here, instead of using the x-axis, I'm not going to use the x-axis. I just want to have a 2-axis over here. So I just want to have one axis from here and another one here. So I don't want to use the x-axis. So the question is that, so how should I do that? I just need to do some things on the glyphs. I just make the glyph a bit bigger so you can see that easily. So glyph is actually provide a dimension that where my data should be. Through that, if you look at the top of the menu, we have the option as a ruler icon that is data access. So you can create data access based on that. I'm just going to click here and I'm going to create a data access that starts in the middle. So if you look at here, so these are the lines actually we have. So this is the one that I'm created. It actually starts from here to here. The direction is matter because I'm start from the middle. So my zero data point should be a start from here. If I, for example, if I drag and drop F to here, you see that the sales amount for female starts from there. But if I do it vice versa, for example, I'm start to drawing from here to here, and sorry, just make it otherwise. So I mean, I'm start from here to here, and if I drag and drop F to there, is a start from there. So a starting point is matter. When you start to draw it, it's considered 0 at that point. So I'm just going to kind of start and kind of start to draw that. Just make it bigger. So I need a ruler and start from the here to the actually middle. This is 1. I drag and drop female for that. So you can see that the border, the axis create over here. And for the male, for the sales for the male, also I'm doing the same. So I'm going to draw a one that starts from 0 and I drag and drop the 1. So one of the important things about that is that we didn't draw the axis in the chart, in the chart area. So if you look at the information over here, data access is part of the glyph. Glyph is related to each data row, is bind to the each data row. It's not like title or the y-axis or x-axis. So if you're creating a data access, it's going to bind to your each rows of the data. So that why is part of the glyph. Another thing is that you can see that in the middle of them, if I just zoom it, you see that we have the average. So it's going to find the average of the female for the each row size. So that is important because when I'm going to actually draw my charts, draw my bar charts, I need to start my bar charts till the average of the each one. Why is matter? So for example, if I'm going to draw a bar chart using a rectangle, if I'm start from here and end to here, it actually creates lots of bar that is not bind to the data. It needs to be bind to the data, so it should be connected to the average of the data points. So it's actually is going to average of the each rows of the data that we have. So now it's become actually much more clear. Another thing is that my data point in the axis is actually it should be on the other side. So I'm just going to click on the first one. The first one is this. I just need to change it to the female axis. And this one, just to make sure, is male data. And so for the female one, because it should be on the other side, if you kind of look at that, there is the options that you can actually mention to show it on the other side. So it should be over here. So here we have the position of the data to be here. So if I click on female axis over here, and under the visibility and position, I have the option to change the direction of the data. So as you can see, it's come like this. I can do the same for the male part. So I'm going to draw a rectangle that starts from 0 to the average of the each data point. Same as the other things that we do in the scatter chart, we can change the coloring of the each data point that we have. So in the scatter chart, we have symbol. So now the glyph is changed. Glyph has the axis now, and also for each of them, for example, for the first one, that is this one, this is for female, and this one is, oops, and this one is for the male one. So this one is actually the replacement of the that symbol. So we can change the attribute of each of them. Same as the symbol, you can provide the coloring. The field can be attitude to any variable that you have that I don't have it now, but it can be related, or you can specify the color yourself. So I can change it to be something like this, for example. And so these are the coloring. Again, you can provide the legend if you click on the bind on the actually on the bind of the data, not here, maybe doesn't provide that one. It should provide, maybe I made a mistake, but normally it should shows the kind of the legend for that one. So here is actually as a bar chart. Now I needed actually label for the each bar, so it's not finished yet. So what I'm going to do again to see it better, I'm going to make it bigger over here. I need to add a text to here that for each rows of the data. Again, on the top, we have two types of the text. One is a text with an egg icon. That means that this is bind to the each rows of the data. So it's come to glyph. So if I choose this one, it goes to the glyph. If I choose this text box, this is like a title of the chart. So I have two types of the text, same as the image. So if we can bind the image to that, so we have two types of image. One of them as icon that can be bind to the each rows of the data, or we can have a general image that goes through the whole thing. So for this scenario, I already have a title for my chart, so I'm just going to use the text for the each kind of rows of the data. So I click on that. I want the text should be shown at the end of the each bar. I just did a bit like this. And as you can see, text box come under the glyph. So this is my glyph because this is rows of the data. I can see it over here. I need to drag and drop what I want to put it over here. So for that one, I want to put the female cells for that one. So it's showing over here. Definitely I can set up everything over here. Even I can provide the condition that based on the other value, if something happened, shows this one or not. I can do the same for the other side. Let's see that how's our chart look like. It's something like this. So even I have some data points over here, I need to adjust the scale to see them, as you can see. So I need to adjust, maybe decrease the space between them to put them over here. So these are the scalability. This is a different topic that can be sometimes a bit, I can say one of the hard parts of the things is to how to adjust them. So this is some of the examples that how we can work with the data access and everything that we have over here. Another things that we have in the Charticulator, if I go back to the examples that I have from before, you can see that actually you can create some the one that I'm going to talk is creating a ranking charts for that. So this is an example that I'm going to show you. So for example, we have different year, and these are the gas emission for the each countries, as you can see till 2011, and you want to see that how they track that one. We have ribbon chart in Power BI, we can use that one, but I think for the having a higher amount of the changes, for example, we have more than 5 categories, maybe this one can be a useful one. Let's see that how we can actually do that one. That's a bit different scenario. So I'm just going to create a new one. Again, the data. Again, I will share this data set also, so you can check that one later on. So this is my data that I have. So my data, what it has is has the country name, has year, has emission value, and it also has that in the each year which country has higher emission gas during that. So we are going to check that one. So first of all, I want to share year over here, start from 1990 to 2001. And of course, I'm going to put the ranking over here because I want to see the ranking. So here again, in the ranking environment, I need to make it Y. So it should be 1 at the top and 9 at here. And I'm going to plot segment and change the Y value to that is a start from here. Let me go and change it. Okay. Let me, so not just x-axis, start from, I can set is a start from 9 to 0. So it's actually, or sorry, from to 1 and end and 10. This is my maximum value, but still you can provide, for example, if you have measure or other things, you can provide it to make it a bit different. So these are the link that I have. So because the original one is a scatter chart, I'm going to add a symbol over here. So as you can see, because my data is based on the rank, you can see that actually is located for the each rank of the data. Here I'm going to use the colorings because each of point of the data is referred to a different country. So I'm going to use the country name as the color. So now it's become much more visible. So I have the data over here is going here and then here, or for this one is going here to here. It's nice, but it's very hard to follow. So it's better that should be a link between the each data point. So to do that, we have at a bar menu, we have the link. So link can be link between the data set, or maybe your data link should be in the other file. So if you remember, when I'm coming here, for example, and I said I want a new data, we have another data set for link. So this is, for example, that your link data is located in a separate file. But here in this example, my link data, if I click on that, is actually ask me that how you are going to link that. I'm going that they are linked based on the country, and I want to it can be a kind of the ribbon or the line. I choose line, and I create a link between the data point. And you can specify the link attribute over here. Also, you can kind of change it to be, for example, arc instead of the very tough line. And so we already have that, but I already need a legend over here. So I need to add another text over here. So I'm going to use the same approach that I have from text. I'm going to drag and drop it over here beside my node. Over here, and maybe move it over here. And I'm going to just put the text for the country name. So what is happening is going to show us for all of my rows of data, which is not really, I don't want to see that. So if you click on the text under the attribute, we have the option kind of the visibility. So you can kind of condition that one, the visibility based on that. So the visibility should be over here. Let me go a bit down. Visibility of that one based on the year. So I don't want to see based on all day. I just want to see in the last one. So what I'm going to actually choose, I'm going to clear all of them, and I'm just saying I want to see it for the last data point. So here is actually showing for the last data point. Even the text color, I want to be same as the other one, the same as the color that I have here. So I can set the color to be there that I couldn't see that. Yep, country and the color. So the color also even matching that. So these are another example of how we can create the different chart through that one. So these are, I'm just not going to demo the other, I'm just going to show you what else we can do that. Even, for example, for the bullet chart, you can create a different type. So for each bar chart, if you look at over here, I create I have the measure for the good, moderate, and the other. So it's a KPI that I have. We have bullet chart in Power BI, but we don't have it for the multiple groups. So you can easily create that. I have a video on that I can share later on with you. You can go through the YouTube channel and check it out. Also, I have another example over here that let me show you on my other browser. So, for example, I use that one for a customer to kind of create a kind of customize Gantt chart through that. So there are many things that you can follow through that and create the visual through that. Even, for example, I use the map behind in New Zealand, and I use the embedded chart to shows that one. That's a kind of the things. The only thing is that how we can actually make it nicer through the scalability and the other. So that's a really kind of the topics that need to consider. And still there are some pitfall through that I hope Microsoft kind of works on them to make it look nicer. I have some kind of the other videos about how to do that. I can share all of them through that. They are available on the YouTube. So yeah, any questions?
We have one question just around working with Charticulator. The question from Matthew was that sometimes when publishing to the cloud, visuals can change colors from the desktop version. Would Charticulator solve this problem?
Yes, that's a problem that still we have with that one. As I know, the one that we created into the web it still has that problem, but when you create it in the Power BI desktop, it should be solved. I just have it kind of in the loop that we have we chat with the team. I think it should be solved. I didn't check it myself. So there are
fair
two
enough.
versions of the Charticulator, unfortunately. One is in the web, one is in the one that I showed to you. So sometimes some things fix on the other side, but they still didn't fix it in here.
So if you're saying that if you do use the version in Power BI Desktop, it should publish to the web okay, or the other way around?
Yes, I think so,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, fair enough. I got to tell you, that does seem like a heck of a lot of work to have to try and go and actually build a visual in Charticulator just to try and get colors right. But there you go. I don't see any other questions in the chat just yet. If you do have questions, please feel free to fire them in there. But yeah, there's a comment from Philip. He loved your chart for your ranking visual there for the rise and fall. So that's very cool. And yeah, it's a ton of power in this. It's
Yeah, I think there's a possibility to create that one. There is a kind of, it was a competition for creating custom visual, and we have some of the, like Daniel Marshall, he's really good on creating these things. So there are some, let me find the website, community Charticulator work. There was actually, so many people create really interesting stuff with Charticulator. I mean, that I'm sometimes out of idea, but many of them actually create interesting things. I can share the link through that. There are some ideas that people created. Mostly the part of the data access is really, I think, one of the powerful part of that. You can create any KPI that you want. So yeah, and kind of make it kind of much more flex. Definitely it has some pitfalls. Definitely the scaling sometimes is really nice, but I think they are working on that. A bit slow, but they are working on that.
No, it's very cool. I mean, it's definitely got a heck of a lot of power there. And I mean, I love the fact that it's no code, but it definitely seems to me to have an interesting learning curve that goes with it. It's not easy, I would say, not quite as clicky, draggy, droppy as Chuck Sterling used to say on some of the things, but the power that it unlocks is pretty amazing for sure, no question.
Yeah.
I don't see any other questions coming in, so I definitely want to make sure that that people have their chance to get it. Oh, here we go. We've got one. Thanks for a great demo. Got a question. Can Charticulator handle building custom visuals with deal with simultaneous data sorting in rows and columns?
Which deals with simultaneous data sorting in rows and columns. You mean that in the table style? Am I understand well? You mean that in the table visual or in the? Could you please just turn on your microphone and maybe just explain a bit more to me? Oh yes, table. Okay, yeah, that's correct. About the table style, yes, there are some examples. Mostly Daniel Marshall create on that. I can share with you. Yes, it's possible to kind of sorting, kind of, yeah. That's possible. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's examples. Yes, it's possible. Yeah, I can share the link for that one and let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Well, listen, if there's no other questions, we'll stop the recording now. And but Leila, I want to say a big thanks for coming here again. I mean, it's been long overdue. We should have had you on the program a heck of a long time ago, and I really appreciate you joining and showing us the cool stuff there with Charticulator.